Hi, this is Cheating Wife. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this story. Your support motivates me to share even more real stories from our life. And don't forget to leave a comment. I'll be really happy to read your thoughts. I never thought I would be the kind of man who had to choose between my own happiness and the illusion of a perfect family. But here I am, sitting in the middle of a story that started 12 years ago and only recently came crashing down. If you're listening to this, just know, in the end, she came back, crying, begging me to take her back. And the question that will haunt me forever is this: was I strong enough to choose the right thing, or weak enough to fall for her again? Let me take you back to the beginning, because none of this makes sense without the full picture. I met my wife when I was just a teenager. I was 15, awkward, lanky, still figuring out who I was. She was 12 at the time. Yeah, I know, sounds strange, but we weren't dating then. We grew up in the same neighborhood, the same school district, the same world. By the time I was 18 and she was 15, things started to shift. She wasn't just the girl next door anymore. She became everything. We officially started dating when she turned 16. I remember the first time she held my hand. My heart nearly exploded out of my chest. It wasn't puppy love. It was that deep, overwhelming feeling where you think, this is it, this is my forever. We said, I love you way too soon, and we meant it. Fast forward a few years, we went through high school, then college, and somehow managed to stay together. Everyone told us young love doesn't last, that we'd drift apart, get bored, grow into different people. But we didn't, or at least that's what I thought at the time. When I was 21 and she was 18, we moved in together. I got a decent job, nothing glamorous, but enough to cover rent and groceries. She was still in school, figuring out what she wanted in life. But every night, we'd curl up on our old hand-me-down couch, watch TV, laugh, and dream about the future. By the time I was 24, I knew there was no one else for me. I proposed to her with a ring I could barely afford. Her hands were shaking as she said yes. We cried, hugged, kissed, and swore we'd never let each other go. Marriage was good at first. Not perfect, but good. We had our fights, sure, money, responsibilities, chores, but we also had love, and it felt like love was enough to carry us through anything. By 26, we had our first child. I'll never forget holding that baby in my arms for the first time. Everything changed in that moment. Life wasn't just about me and her anymore. It was about us as a family. 2 years later, another child came along. Suddenly, we weren't just husband and wife, we were parents, providers, a team. But somewhere in that transition, something shifted between us. It wasn't overnight. It wasn't dramatic. It was slow, like a tiny leak in a boat that eventually sinks the whole thing. She started pulling away. At first, it was subtle, less affection, shorter conversations, always too tired at night. I brushed it off. We had 2 kids. She was exhausted. Life was stressful. It made sense. But deep down, I felt the distance growing. I tried to fix it. I took her out on dates when I could, bought little gifts, tried to surprise her. I helped with the kids, cooked dinner when I wasn't too drained from work. But nothing seemed to bring her closer again. Then, 6 months ago, it all came crashing down. We had one of those fights where everything just explodes. It wasn't even about something big, just dishes in the sink, stress, miscommunication. But suddenly she said the words I never expected to hear. I think we should separate. I froze. Separate? What do you mean? I asked, my voice shaking. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, I don't love you the way I used to. It felt like my heart had been ripped out of my chest. 12 years together, 2 kids, everything we built. It all shattered in a single moment. The weeks that followed were hell. I moved out temporarily, staying with a friend. I cried every night, barely ate, barely slept. The house felt like a graveyard when I came by to see the kids. She was cold, distant, like I was just some guy she used to know. About a month into our separation, I found out the truth. She wasn't just finding herself. She had gotten together with an old friend of hers, some guy she used to know back in high school. I saw the texts, the late-night calls, the way her face lit up when his name popped on her phone. She denied it at first, of course. said they were just friends. But I knew my wife was with someone else. That crushed me more than the separation itself. Because suddenly, I wasn't just the husband she didn't love anymore. I was the fool she replaced. For weeks, I tortured myself with images of them together. Her laughing with him the way she used to laugh with me. Her letting him touch her, kiss her, hold her the way she once held me. It drove me insane. But strangely, after the initial heartbreak, I started to feel lighter, free even. I focused on my kids, my work, myself. I started going to the gym, taking care of my body again. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in years. I even met someone new. She wasn't serious, just a sweet girl who made me laugh, reminded me that I was still worthy of love. For the first time in years, I felt okay. Not happy, not perfect, but okay. And then she came back. It was a rainy evening when she showed up at my door. Her eyes were red from crying, her hands shaking. The kids were with her, and before I could even ask what was wrong, she blurted out, "Dad doesn't love Mom anymore." I stood there, stunned. "What did you just say to them?" I asked, my voice trembling with anger. She looked at me with those desperate eyes and whispered, "Please, please take me back." The kids were staring at us, confused, scared. I felt like the worst father in the world. If I said no, I'd be the villain. If I said yes, I'd be betraying myself. She grabbed my hand, sobbing. "I made a mistake. I thought I wanted something else, but I don't. I want you. I want our family back." And that's where my nightmare truly began. I wish I could tell you that I slammed the door in her face that night, that I stood tall, protected my peace, and told her she had made her choice months ago. But that's not what happened. Because the moment I saw my kid's eyes, wide, scared, confused, I caved. "Come inside," I muttered, stepping aside. She rushed past me, dragging the kids along. The house instantly felt different, like a ghost had walked back in. My heart pounded in my chest, not from love, but from fear. We sat down in the living room. The kids clung to her side, staring at me like I was the enemy. I swallowed hard and said, "You can't tell them things like that. You can't make me the villain in their eyes." Her lips trembled. "I didn't mean to. I just panicked. I don't want them to think we're broken forever." I rubbed my temples, exhausted. "We are broken. You ended things. You moved on. Remember." She flinched, her eyes darting to the kids. "Can we talk privately?" The kids went upstairs, and suddenly it was just us. Two people who had once promised forever, now standing on opposite sides of a battlefield. She broke the silence first. "I messed up. I thought I wanted freedom, space, excitement. But all it gave me was emptiness. He doesn't love me. He never did." I laughed bitterly. "But you thought he did when you left me." Her voice cracked. "I know, and I'm sorry. Please, I need you. The kids need you." That last sentence hit me like a knife. Because she was right, the kids needed me. But did they need me with her? Or just me being their father no matter what? I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her she had no right to crawl back now, after everything. But instead, I whispered, "You can't just erase what you did." She grabbed my hand, tears streaming down her face. "I don't want to erase it. I want to fix it. Please, give me another chance." For weeks after that night, my life turned into a storm. She started showing up more often, bringing the kids, dropping off food, trying to slip back into routines. At first, I resisted. I told her we couldn't just pretend everything was fine. But every time I saw my kids smile when we were all together, my resolve weakened. One evening, while tucking my daughter into bed, she looked up at me with big, innocent eyes and asked, "Daddy, are you and Mommy gonna love each other again?" My throat closed up. What could I even say? How do you explain betrayal and heartbreak to a child? So I lied. I kissed her forehead and said, "We'll always love each other in some way." But inside, I felt like a fraud. The new girl I'd been seeing, let's call her Emily, started to notice my distance. One night, she called me out. "You're pulling away from me," she said softly, her voice trembling. I sighed. It's not you. It's my situation. She frowned. Your wife, right? I nodded. She bit her lip, trying not to cry. I care about you, but I can't compete with the mother of your kids. If she wants you back, you'll go. I can feel it. I hated that she was right, because even though part of me screamed to stay away from my wife, another part whispered that maybe I owed it to my family to try again. The guilt was crushing. When I was with Emily, I felt alive, wanted, understood. When I was with my wife, I felt torn, guilty, manipulated, but also bound by years of history and two little faces who depended on me. One night, I confronted her. I said, if we even consider trying again, I need honesty. No more lies. No more secrets. Tell me everything. Why did you really leave? And don't sugarcoat it. She looked down at her hands, silent for what felt like forever. Finally, she whispered, I was scared. Scared of the routine, the responsibility, the weight of being a wife and mother at 25. And when he came along, it felt like an escape. I clenched my fists. So you threw away 12 years for a fling? She flinched. I thought it was more. I thought he cared. But when I realized he didn't, I knew I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. I stared at her, my heart torn between rage and pity. How do I know you won't do it again? She shook her head desperately. Because I've lost everything once already. I can't lose you again. But could I trust that? Weeks turned into months. She stayed persistent, calling, visiting, making promises. Sometimes I almost believed her. Other times, I felt sick just looking at her. Remembering the late nights she spent with him while I sat home wondering why she wasn't answering my texts. My parents got involved too. They said, you have kids together. Families are worth fighting for. Forgiveness is part of marriage. But my friends told me the opposite. Don't be stupid. She showed you who she is. Believe her. I was stuck in the middle, torn apart by voices, guilt, and longing. Then came the night that nearly broke me. We were sitting in my living room, the kids asleep upstairs. She reached for my hand and said, why can't you see I'm trying? Why can't you let me back in? I snapped. Because you destroyed me. Do you even realize what you did? You made me feel like nothing. You made me question my worth as a man, as a husband, as a father. She cried, but I didn't stop. Do you know what it's like to picture the woman you love in someone else's arms, while you're at home begging for scraps of her attention? Do you know how humiliating that is? She sobbed, I do now, and I hate myself for it. Her words hung in the air. For the first time, I saw not just guilt, but shame. And it scared me, because part of me still loved her, even after everything. But love alone doesn't heal betrayal. Love doesn't erase the images burned into my brain. Love doesn't guarantee loyalty. So I sat there, staring at her, and asked the question that had been eating me alive. Do you actually love me, or do you just hate being alone? She froze, tears still dripping down her cheeks. And in that silence, I realized, maybe even she didn't know the answer. If you've followed me this far, you probably already know where this is heading. But the truth is, it wasn't some clean, cinematic ending where I instantly knew what to do. It was messy, painful, and it almost destroyed me before it set me free. The weeks after that confrontation blurred together. Some days I thought maybe we could rebuild. Other days, I couldn't stand the sight of her. It felt like my heart was split in two directions. One side chained to the past, the other begging me to break free. The kids were the hardest part. They started asking questions more often. Daddy, are you and Mommy happy again? Daddy, why don't you sleep in the same room as Mommy? Daddy, do you still love her? Each question was a knife, because no matter what answer I gave, I was lying to someone, either to them or to myself. Emily eventually made the decision for herself. One night, she called me. Her voice was calm, steadier than I expected. She said, I love you, but I can't keep being the second option. You need to choose. And if you can't, then I'm walking away. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. The silence said enough. She whispered, goodbye, and hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, realizing I just lost someone who truly cared about me because I was too afraid to make a choice. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, asking myself the question over and over. Do I sacrifice my happiness for the kids? Or do I risk breaking their world apart for the chance to finally breathe again? The next morning, I found my wife sitting at the kitchen table. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, coffee untouched. Did you talk to her? She asked quietly. I froze. What do you mean? Her eyes filled with tears. Emily, I know about her. The kids mentioned her name once. I put the pieces together. I didn't deny it. Yes, I was seeing someone, but she's gone now. She nodded slowly, biting her lip. Because of me. I sighed. No, because I couldn't choose. The silence between us was unbearable. Finally, she whispered, so what now? Do we try again? Do we rebuild? And that's when I finally broke. I slammed my hands on the table, tears burning my eyes. I don't know. I don't know how to love you again after what you did. I don't know how to trust you. I don't know how to sleep next to you without wondering if you're texting someone else. She sobbed, but I kept going. I've been carrying this weight for months, trying to protect the kids, trying to protect you, trying to protect everyone but myself. And I'm done. I can't do it anymore. Her voice cracked. So that's it? After 12 years, after 2 kids, you're just done. I wiped my face, shaking my head. No, I'll never be done being their father. I'll never stop loving them. But you and me, we can't go back to what we were. Too much is broken. She looked at me with wide, panicked eyes. No, please, don't say that. We can fix it. Therapy, counseling, anything. I'll do anything. For a moment, I almost softened. But then I remembered the nights I cried alone. The lies, the betrayal, the hollow look in her eyes when she chose someone else over me. And I knew it wasn't just about effort, it was about trust. And trust, once shattered, doesn't grow back the same. I stood up. I'll co-parent with you. I'll always be there for the kids. But as your husband, I can't do this anymore. She collapsed into tears, begging me not to leave. The sound tore me apart, but I forced myself to walk away. The weeks that followed were brutal. The kids cried. My parents were disappointed. Friends were divided. Some called me selfish. Others called me strong. I didn't feel like either. But slowly, something shifted. I started to feel lighter, like I could finally breathe without carrying her choices on my shoulders. Like maybe, just maybe, I deserved happiness too. One evening, while playing with the kids in the park, my daughter suddenly said, "Daddy, you're smiling again." I froze, stunned. And for the first time in a long time, I realized she was right. So here's the truth, the confession I've been leading up to this whole time. I chose myself. I chose to stop bleeding just to keep my family looking whole on the outside. I chose to believe that my kids would rather have a happy father than a broken one. And maybe someday, when they're older, they'll understand. Maybe they'll see that love isn't about staying no matter what. It's about knowing when to walk away. As for my wife, she still calls sometimes. She still cries, still begs, still says she regrets everything. But now I don't answer with guilt. I answer with boundaries. Because the truth is, I'm not her safety net anymore. I'm not her second chance. I'm just a man who finally chose to stop drowning in someone else's storm. And for the first time in years, that feels like freedom.